Hi, I'm Justin with Bulldog, Stump, and Tractor Service based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. We just wrapped up our second season, 2022, and I learned just as much in my second year as I did in my first year, and I'd like to share some of the top 10 things that I learned in my second year of business. Number one, stay in your swim lane. That's popular advice, but what does that mean in your first year of business? As a new business, you're still trying to figure out what business you're actually trying to do. You can force something, and we tried to force, brush hogging and stump grinding, and that was going to be our bread and butter. Truth is, that first year into our second year, your business is learning its identity. You learn your identity via listening to your customers. Your customers have problems. You need to solve the problem. You need to find a need and fulfill that need. That's how you learn your identity. So stay in your swim lane once you figure out what your swim lane actually is. Which brings us into number two, expanding our services. So going into 2022, I thought the bulk of our projects were going to be like, 2021, our first year. Tree stump grinding and brush hogging. Well, towards the end of our first year, what actually happened is we kind of fell into doing a little bit more work. We bought more attachments, more implements. We bought a TR3 rake. Finally bought a rototiller. Early this year, it was like, wow, we really should get a cultipacker if we're going to start broadcasting seeds, so we can, sow the seed, so we can drill our seed. We took it a step further, did one job with straw blankets, and said enough of that, and then went out and bought a hydro seeder. So the brush hogging, the stump grinding, all that actually transitioned into ancillary services. Remember, step one was, find a need. Well, we found a need where lawn companies can't grind stumps, right? Tree companies don't install lawns. Well, find a need, find your swim lane. We found that need and became a residential lot, full turnkey contractor that can come in and take out or level any debris, stumps, this, that, and other thing, to be the full turnkey. And when we're done, it's there's your brand new lawn type deal. So number two is expanding services and finding your actual swim lane. Building on one and two is number three, and that's expanding our equipment. And some of them were large purchases, some of them were small purchases. So, the large purchases, the hydro seeder. We shot a video of us having to drive out of state with the big trailer, and then bring this hydro seeder back that was way bigger than what what I thought it looked like in a picture. Towards the end of the season, the customers once again started directing me into overseeding. So if I go in there and I blow up an area and, rototill it and regrade it and all that, blend it into their existing lawn, well, that's aerating and overseeding, and that's where the aerator came in. So those two purchases are about equal to the cost of a tractor itself. And then there was a bunch of the small purchase equipment to go along with all that. And where I chose to go with was, one battery platform, and that was just DeWalt. Is it the best? I don't know. Is it the worst? I don't think so. It fits somewhere right in the middle of it. And I use one battery for the chainsaw, one battery for a leaf blower. And those are two very common things that just come with me. Sometimes I don't know what I'm getting into. Also, turns out that DeWalt makes a 4-gallon backpack sprayer. And I do get into, once in a while, spraying herbicides or some sort of fertilizer, liquid herbicides, and just having one battery platform, I chose my small equipment just to go in DeWalt. So number 3, be ready to expand equipment as you find your swim lane, as you expand your services. And that leads us to number 4. As we were figuring out our business, we needed to expand labor. As our customers, as our clients, as our local geographical area was driving us in a direction, I quickly knew that with all the schedules, all the constraints, I needed help. So I started putting feelers out, and through a little bit of networking, we now have a 1099 retired guy who brings with a wealth of knowledge of all sorts of things, and his schedule allows him to work sometime and not others, which works with our schedule with ups and downs, resource demands. That brings us up to number 5, and this is what I'm sure everyone's waiting for. How much money did we make, and how do we do our pricing? So full transparency, the government already knows everything anyways. We made last year $20,000, just over $20,000, and that basically covered all of our debt. But I got my education. Did I get it for free or did I have to pay for it? Subjective. But we about broke even for debt, and my hourly wage was about 0. This year we 4x that and broke $80,000. Okay. Our costs increased, our implements increased, our services expanded. Go back and see last year's video and look at what we talk about for accountants. And we're not done paying all of our bills for the year, but hopefully our accountant will say our profit was little to 0 again. Now, how do we bid projects? Let's use a simple project of a stump, a 10-inch stump. Industry going rate is $3 per diameter inch. Now, is that $30, $300, $3,000? It's $3 per inch that you grind. Okay, I've never ever used that, and here's why. So that stump has an inherent value. Is it $100, $200, or $300? It doesn't matter what equipment you use. If you come out there with a Bandit 252, SG 3060, a John Deere 2038 with a swing arm stump grinder, a 25 horsepower tractor with a bumper puller 3-point hitch, the stump only costs one value. If you try to underbid yourself, you're only hurting yourself. That stump was always worth $100 or $200. That can go for a full lawn. That can go for rototilling. That can go for grading gravel. Every project has one value to it. And that doesn't change with economies of scale with construction. Large, if we go and blow in 25 miles of a brand new road and all the contractors bid on it, there's only one right price on it. Never have a client come to me, or have I ever bid a large $60 million project and ask them what color machinery do they use, what horsepower it is. It doesn't matter. Because you use a green tractor or an orange tractor or a Rayco or a dedicated thing, each project only has one value, and that's what you need to find. It took me a better part of the last year, and we raised prices 3 times this year, so I'd say it took us a full 2 years to figure out what my market would bear for individual services. After we figured out what our market will bear for the individual projects, we became profitable. Once I knew how to operate my equipment, once I knew what I was actually targeting and focusing on, what I was providing value for my client, I began to figure out what my hourly rate was, what my daily rate was. And that's mainly what I used, was the daily rate. In the estimate, I would list off the different scope line items. We'd do this stump, that stump, grade 500 square feet, rototill 600 square feet, and they'd have a GMP, a guaranteed maximum price, or a lump sum. If I used a 2017 2038 versus a 2023 2038, there's probably a $20,000 difference in the cost of machine, but the machine is the same. The project costs the same. If I'm rototilling using a 96-inch tiller, I'm on a 150 horsepower Kubota MX6 versus a 25 horsepower tractor with a 48-inch tiller. It's going to take the smaller tractor on the scale of 3 to 4 times longer than the big 150 horsepower tractor. But the actual job that we rototilled all costs the same. When you start getting into bigger equipment, different equipment, this and other thing, what you're buying is time for the contractor. As long as there's no time constraints by the client, any deviation in equipment, you're buying time for the contractor to get to multiple jobs. And that's how they're going to recoup their investment on equipment. I want to make it clear. If you buy a house, your realtor is going to say that the price of your house is location, location, location. What I charge in Minneapolis would be different than Sweetwater, Texas, Sweetwater, Oklahoma, San Francisco, California. You need to put in your own due diligence, figure out what your market can bear, figure out the time that it involves, and that's how you need to structure your pricing. Please understand, every project, every value, every line item in a scope has an inherent single value. It's your job as a contractor to figure out what that single line item inherent value is. It took me about 1.5 years, but we got it. Number 6, we learned a little bit of it in year 1, and we only strengthened it in year 2, and that's don't force it. Year 1, yep, I had to walk away from a few jobs that I just didn't have the comfort level in my operating skills, and had to walk away. Same thing happened in year 2. As we're, learning our need, finding a need, filling a need, and buying more equipment, I started getting, phone calls for more and more work. And I started chasing some of those. And around here in Minnesota, we have a lot of backyard ice rinks, and got calls for at least a few backyard ice rinks. And here's the thing, I can run a grade, I can flatten land, I can smooth land out, I can, make sure that we get to, the fall, the 2% run to make sure that, we're shedding water. On an ice rink, you're trying to flood an area and then freeze it. They need to be very, very, laser shot level. I don't have a laser. I have worked on a survey crew, a PLS, professional land surveyor. I know exactly what it takes to shoot grade. I did it professionally. I know it. I get it. And I don't have the equipment. I don't even know if I want to get into trying to get to precision grading. We also had other clients with high-end hardscapes, and there again, they want the base material, the fill materials to be shot with here's a benchmark and here's your tolerance, 1/4 inch, no greater than a 1/4 inch per 3 feet per foot, etc., etc. I had to walk away from them, and I didn't want to buy more and more equipment as I'm learning what it is we do. Another thing that comes up repeatedly is tree felling. I have no problems cutting down a tree if it's easy. I work in tight quarter-acre lots. I have cottonwood trees that are this wide, or maples. That requires a certain level of precision that I just don't have. So I don't even want to open that book. I don't even want to say, yeah, I can cut a tree down. Of course I can cut a tree down. But once you say I can do one tree, clients say, hey, trim this one, do this one, do this one, and it becomes too much. So don't be afraid to say enough is enough. Number seven. My first year, I had all my defenses up, and my head was on a swivel. I was always looking for, what's gonna kill me, right? Year two, let my defenses down. So number 7 is PPE. During my projects, I took a sliver from a buckthorn, just eat buckthorn. And it got so deep into my nail bed, that was a trip to hospital. Didn't show it, didn't do this, and it didn't hurt. It wasn't, but it was starting to grow, and it was more than I could take with a needle trying to dig it out. So I had to go to the hospital. Another one was the last day of the last project of closing out the year. Took a tree branch right to the eye. That was another trip to the hospital. So I should have been wearing gloves anytime I'm around buckthorn. I got lazy, it got hot, gloves get, greasy, got a sliver. The last job of the last day of the last project of the last yes, all these, precursors. It got dark. I had tinted safety glasses on. I put them on top of my head. 3 minutes later, I took a tree branch right to the eye, let my guard down because I started getting comfortable. Number 7, PPE, personal safety, personal protective equipment, personal safety. Keep your guard up. Number 8, segues into licenses, insurance. So number 7 was personal safety. Number 8 is administrative safety controls. So physical, virtual, financial, make sure you have all your insurance. That is the key for me to sleep well at night, is knowing that I have that corporate veil of protection through my limited liability. Something tragic happens, and an accident by definition is an unplanned event. I didn't plan to take a tree branch to my eye. I promise you I didn't plan that. That's called an accident, an unplanned event. If something big happens and I wipe out a fiber optic cable that feeds EMS, and EMS is down, if I take out communications for the electric grid because I felled a tree and I knew I shouldn't have, right? I have insurance to cover myself, and they're not going to come take my house or hurt my family or in one way or financially or what have you, trying to impact my family. It's how I sleep at night. Having full insurance on the truck. So one of the most dangerous activities is just driving. So I got all sorts of commercial motor vehicle insurance. I can see where my business is going, and my equipment is getting bigger and bigger and fatter. In Minnesota, any trailer over 10,000 pounds used for commerce, not private. Private is 26,000 gross combined. In Minnesota, if you're a commercial contractor or you're going out for hire, any trailer over 10,000 pounds, automatic, Class A CDL, not Class B, Class A, because you're towing. So I went and got, my CDL. So number 8 is administrative safety controls, licenses, and insurance. Number 9, Shop around. As you grow, you're going to need help. At least I did. I needed help with garbage disposal or debris disposal. What I'm talking about is dumpsters. So I went and worked with a dumpster broker. So all my wife had to do would be call up the broker, give them the address, and they know our business, what we do, how we do it. They know all of the materials that are going into it because they already had the business meeting to figure out how this broker is going to provide us value. Lo and behold, the broker comes back and says, hey, your 10-yard landscape dumpster can only have 1 ton of material. That doesn't work well because I fill a 10-yard dumpster and we're talking at all of 10 tons. So that's how we were starting to get, all these upcharges. So as everyone starts, working with, subcontractors, and you start farming, different aspects out, because I don't want to buy a dump trailer. I don't want to spend the time hauling debris, refuse, all that stuff. It's cheaper, faster. It's I'm more efficient just farming that out to the broker. That didn't work well for me. So we shopped around and we went direct to the different waste places and started getting dumpsters done direct. Our costs came down, savings to the client came down, and we didn't get all these upcharges. So if you need to start shopping around for additional services to come help your business grow, make sure you shop around and keep a tight eye on your invoices and see if anyone's trying to sneak something in on you. Number 10, and this is something that I learned very, very intimately this year. Maybe number 10, but it's going to be number 1 for our 3rd year in business. Take time off. Don't burn yourself out. Don't try to take on the world. Be with your family. Slow yourself down so you're more cognitive, so you have better thought process. You're able to see accidents, so you're not rushing, you're not cutting corners, you're not trying. You have all of your protective measures happening with you. And oh, by the way, you don't get heat rash. So last year was my first year with heat rash, and I couldn't ever stop it because I had to go, I had to work, I had to make more money because everything is working good. So now I start piling more work on me, and now my schedules are starting to back up, and I couldn't take time off. I couldn't heal my body, and I didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with my family, which is the most important thing there is. So learn from my mistake, and number 10 is take time off, slow down, it's okay. All right, so that's going to wrap up our 10 things for our 2nd year in commercial tractor business. So in closing, I hope you found, advice helpful. Our year 1, it was focused on administrative controls, getting the LLC started, working with accounting, getting our finances up together, getting all the insurance, getting all the administrative controls. Year 2, was much more refined into operations. So we went from administrative. Year 2, we focused on operations, finding the right projects for us, understanding what those projects cost, and starting to make a profit. Hey, thanks for sticking around. I hope you made it to the end. I hope you found something useful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out, ask a question, drop a comment in below, look us up on the web, Bulldog Tractor. I've had people out of state call and just want to talk about tractor stump grinding, everything. It's completely fine. Thank you for your time, and if it's your birthday, happy birthday. Remember, if the Bulldog can do it, you can too. Thanks, everyone.